Hi everyone, Officer Potak here.
Hi, it's Officer Best. Happy Monday. Today is July 20th, 2020. And today is a special day. If you look behind us, this is a poster I have that I was keeping in my office at Sheckler Elementary School. And this poster has a lot of meaning to me because growing up, I was fascinated by the astronauts and the going to the moon program. So today, July 20th, is the 51st anniversary of the first moon landing. Now, how did that all come about? On May 25th, 1961, then President John F. Kennedy presented a challenge. And he said about putting a man on the moon, launching a man from space, from Earth, landing on the moon, and bringing him safely back to Earth. And it took 11 Apollo missions to get there. But before that, there was Mercury, there was Gemini. But today we celebrate the anniversary of Apollo 11. Three men, Michael McCollins, the command module pilot, Edwin Buzz Armstrong, the lunar module pilot, and Neil Armstrong, the mission commander, all left Earth on July 16th, 1969. They traveled to the moon, and on July 20th, 1969, made their first moon landing. And this is a picture, actually, this is a picture of Buzz Aldrin, and in his shield, his face shield, you see astronaut Neil Armstrong, the first man to land on the moon, to walk on the moon. And on that day, the Eagle landed on Tranquility Base, and out of the lunar capsule came Neil Armstrong, and when he first set foot on the moon, his words were, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." And in my opinion, I think this is the most under-celebrated yet the largest accomplishment that man has ever done. We put a person on the moon, and since then we've evolved into space shuttles where we can launch into space and bring them back. Now, because of several disasters, this has been put on hold, and we haven't had a space shuttle in quite a while. But I'm thrilled to be able to say that growing up, I was a real admirer of the Apollo 11. Now, since Apollo 11, only 12 men have walked on the moon. 13 missions have gone, Apollo 11 through 17, but only 12 men have walked on the moon. Obviously, if you've seen Tom Hanks in Apollo 13, you know that Apollo 13 never made it to the moon. They were blessed and very lucky to have made it safely back to Earth because of some technical problems with their spacecraft. So having said all that, today's book is appropriate for today's moon landing. Moon's First Friends. One giant leap for friendship. The moon was queen of the night sky. She was so bright that everything she touched glowed with silver light. But after many, many years had passed, she was lonely. "If only someone would visit me," she said. "Hello down there," she called to the lumbering dinosaurs. "If you come up here, you won't feel so heavy. You'll feel lighter than air." But the dinosaurs stayed where they were. Under the moon's watchful eye, the surface of the earth changed. The moon saw glorious new creatures come and go. Saber-toothed tigers, mastodons, woolly mammoths, dodo birds, whales, rhinoceroses, and elephants. But they all stayed earthbound and rarely looked up into her night sky. But then she saw something new. At night, people conjured fires like tiny stars. There are millions of stars for you up here, she offered, but the people stayed where they were. The moon watched as she circled and circled the earth. On the wide sweep of the hot Sahara, the Egyptians built stone pyramids that towered toward the sky. They're trying to reach me, the moon marveled, but though the pyramids were mighty, they never came nowhere near high enough to reach the moon. Perhaps they didn't see her. She spun and twirled from new moon to majestic silver pearl and back again, showing off for the people below. But no one came.
These are the ones we worry about. The full moon.
Why you gotta be like that?
In police world, the full moon makes people do some weird things. We'd like to skip over those.
Yeah, well, we're not talking about a full moon right now. She watched as down on earth, people came up with all kinds of ways to get from one place to another. But they did not sail or drive or cycle or float to the moon. Then on a windy day in North Carolina, the first airplane flew above a beach. You're doing great, encouraged the moon. You just need to fly a little higher. But the people on earth only traveled to visit one another. Was it possible they didn't know she was there? And if you know, Orville and Wilbur Wright at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina.
History, remember, if you need help with history.
At high noon, the moon slipped purposefully between the earth and the sun, blocking all the daylight. Then she slid aside again, allowing the sun to shine through. No one could have missed that, she thought. But still, no one ventured away from Earth. Would she ever have a visitor? Just when the moon was losing hope, the people on Earth began to experiment with rockets. And the moon watched with great interest, but the humans still had a lot to learn. One day, the moon's hope soared. A chimpanzee and a Mercury capsule rocketed toward her. A visitor at last. Now, if you take notice, the United States sends a chimpanzee into orbit. The Russians were a little more technologically advanced, and they sent Yuri Gagarin, the first man into outer space. Then one hot July day, a tremendous rocket stood upon a launch pad with two small spaceships perched on top. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. At 30 stories high and weighing 6 million pounds, the rocket rose into the air amid an explosion of flames, slowly at first and then faster and faster. The rocket fell away in stages, but The two spaceships hurtled toward the moon. "They're coming," the moon said. "They're actually coming." And if you're wondering what two spaceships they're talking about, they're right here. The command module and the lunar module. One of the spaceships remained at a distance, circling, but the other came closer, closer, until at last its spindle legs touched down. "Welcome," she greeted the men who emerged from the ship. That would have been Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. Michael Collins was the one who remained in the command module. The astronauts walked across her surface with great bounding steps that made her dust bloom. They seemed delighted with how far they could travel with easy stride. The moon gave them gifts of moon rocks and dust. "Take these back to Earth," she said. "Then even though I can't visit you, a part of me will always be there." The men left her a present in return, a handsome plaque that read, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind." They also left her a beautiful flag with red and white stripes and a scattering of white stars on a blue background. Too soon, the astronauts had to leave. "Goodbye," the moon said as their spaceship floated away into the starry distance. "Come back any time." She sighed with happiness. At last, someone had visited. And now she had hope that it would happen again and again. And maybe one day you will visit her too. And this is the command module of Apollo 11, which is currently at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. And that is Moon's first friends. She had 12 more friends come visit her after Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin did. In fact, several of the Apollo missions even had Land Rovers where they got to drive on the moon so they could go a greater distance away and see what was around. And they came back and collected more rocks and more dirt, did more scientific experiments. So I'm very pleased to have been able to read this book to you. This means a lot to me. I was a big fan of this. And for those of you who want to know, yes, I was very young at the time when Apollo 11 landed. I was in the 5th grade.
So I was not born yet. But I just think it's amazing that we can fly into space. I think it's amazing an airplane can fly, and then we're taking people and putting them on the moon. That is just the coolest thing.
Yeah, I really think a lot of this, and I think it's very interesting. I love to have this poster because it always reminds me of man's great achievements.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that if you put your mind to something, that you can accomplish anything.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
So I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Officer Potak, for sharing this with me.
And thank you for all the history about it.
So again, we'd like you to ask you to stay well, stay safe. If you go to the moon and when you get back, make sure you wash your hands.
Bye.